Alrighty, so welcome everyone. My name is Jonathan Gonzalez Montelongo. I am the Visitor Services and Events Coordinator at Cal State San Bernardino in our Campus Tours and Visitor Center. I use he, him pronouns. Thank you all for being here today. Today, our Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships is going to kind of walk you through understanding your CSUSB Financial Award. As I mentioned before, if you all can make sure that in the chat you're putting any questions. We're going to try to, I'm sure financial aid, y'all have a lot of questions, so we're going to try to do our best to try to keep the question and answer portion towards the end. But if she can answer questions as she goes, if she can, but either way, put the questions in the chat. And then once we get to a Q&A session towards the end, if we can use the raise hand feature, it's under the reactions button in your Zoom. But we'll use that to kind of keep track of the questions as they are coming in. So again, thank you all for being here. I'm going to turn it over. This is Hanaya Walker. She's a financial aid technician in our Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. I kind of mentioned it. I am new to the campus. I started in June. So it's been kind of weird because everything's been remotely since I've been here. But, you know, I'm working it out, going with the flow. And I have been enjoying myself. So today, I mean, I understand financial aid it's a lot. It can be super confusing. There's so many aspects. And it seems like sometimes we just expect you to understand it all, but we know we don't get it all. So hopefully me being here today, I can help you guys understand your financial aid and the awarding process. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Okay. So while going through this presentation, I do hope that you guys will learn some of these things listed on this list. I'm sorry, learn all of these things. One, how to review your to-do list, understanding the award that we offered to you, understanding the student loan process, the difference of the loans, the subsidized and unsubsidized loan, different types of aids that's offered to you, your customer account, and just a little brief explanation of your financial aid timeline. So this is very important. This is your to-do list. I don't know if you guys have all signed into your student account, but on your student account, you'll see like a little, sorry, my daughter's here. I'm so sorry. Sorry about that. So you'll see on the right side that there is a to-do list area there, and it will show things that we are requesting from you from the financial aid office. If you don't log into your student center, as long as you check your email daily, because that's the only way we pretty much communicate with you all, is if you check your email or log into your portal, and we'll email you saying, hey, you have a few things you should take a look at, some things that we need from you, and you want to try to submit them to our office as soon as possible, because we do get busy. Like right now, we're extremely busy because we're preparing for next year. So when you see the item, it's best to submit them as soon as possible because it can take about a week or two for us to process the actual document. I think I kind of, yeah. So this is pretty much what we see when we look at your financial aid award or your financial aid profile. So what happens after you turn all your documents in? After you turn documents in that we request from you, and mind you, everyone's not gonna have to turn documents in. You'll really only have to turn them in if you're selected for verification. Sometimes when you fill out the FAFSA, the Department of Education will ask for a little more information. And in doing that, we request these documents from you. So when that happens, we will collect your documents, review them, make any changes if necessary. And once they are received, we'll clear the item from your to-do list so you'll no longer see them on your profile. Then we'll make some corrections to your account if needed. It takes a couple of days for us to receive it, and then we'll offer you your award. So the point of explaining this is that once you turn your documents in, you're not going to get your award right away. Some people think, I turned them in yesterday, I don't see it. I'm like, sorry, it doesn't work that way. There is a little process. I wish it was that fast because it would get papers off my desk faster, but it does take a little process because there's some behind the scenes legwork. Jonathan, do we have any questions? I can't really see the
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, good.
Have some about connection, but we're good on our end.
Okay. Okay, so reviewing your student award. So after you've turned all your documents in and we've given you an award that you can review on your student center, you'll notice that some of the awards are accepted and some of them will not be. You'll have to manually do them. So the ones that we automatically accept to you are any free money. So it's going to be any grants or scholarships. We accept them for you because you don't have to pay them back. If you see that you might want to take out additional aid and you have loans on your account, you will have to manually go into your student center account and accept these loans. Just so you're aware, like, okay, I'm borrowing this much, so I do have to pay it back. Whereas the grants and scholarships, you don't have to pay anything back. So we just give them to you. So this here is what you would see on your student award. Once you go into your student center and click view my financial aid, you'll see this little grid here, and it's a lot. You're like, what is this? Okay, I see the grants, I see money, but sometimes they're different. I'm just going to explain them a little to you. The first column is something you don't have to worry about. It says item type. That's just how we identify what grant or loan is being applied to your account. The second area where it says description, that's where you can see, okay, I got the federal Pell Grant, I got the Cal Grant, and some loans. The offer amount is the amount that we're able to give you at that time. And actually, let me go here so you guys can see that. The offer amount is the amount that we're able to give you at that time. The fourth column will be the amount of aid accepted. So if you have your loans that's offered to you, but you don't accept them, you might see a 0 there. Or if you had your loans and you do accept it, then you'll see your loan amount in that next column. The last one that you really have to worry about is the sixth column. The sixth column shows the amount that's dispersed. I'll show you back here. It shows the dispersed amount. And that's where you'll see, okay, well, I was offered this amount was accepted, and this amount is dispersed. Those are really the only columns you really have to pay attention to. So the student loan process. I know when I was a student, I was terrified of the loans because I didn't understand them. I'm like, I am not taking a loan out because they are not going to get me forever. But I didn't really understand them until my senior year. I was like, you know what? I'm coming to a pinch. I kind of need a little extra money. So I did look into the loans. So I feel like this slide is pretty important. To receive the loan, you will log into your My Coyote account and you'll go to view your financial aid, and then you'll be able to accept the loans. Once you accept them, you'll have to do two things. If you are a first-time borrower or you haven't been in school in about 10 years, you'll have to go online and complete the master promissory note and the entrance counseling. These two, people skip over them and then your loan doesn't go out. So you do have to complete them. I found them to be very helpful to me because it explains the difference of the loans and debt, shows you how you'll be able to pay them back. Kind of makes you feel a lot more comfortable about taking out a loan because it really it's like a crash course on loans pretty much. Also, we have a California Dream Loan, which is offered for students who complete the DREAM Act application. The funds are limited for the Dream Loan. I actually administer this program, so I try to get them out as much as possible. But you do have to also complete a master promissory note. These items will appear on your to-do list, telling you to complete them. And you'll also be emailed about them saying, hi, I see that you accepted your loan. You still have to complete these items in order to receive the loan. And once you complete them, then your loan will disperse. Do we have any questions there?
We do have some questions if you want to go through them really quick.
Okay.
Will student awards be offered before the due date of acceptance?
For accepting into the university?
Yes.
Yes. So we try to, we do try to get them out before, but depending on the time frame that we have to finish them, sometimes it'll happen during the acceptance period. So it's not always before.
And do I have to pay my enrollment deposit to be able to review my financial aid offer?
You have to pay your enrollment deposit, yes, unless you are receiving a waiver. So the waiver is given through, I have to double check the department who clears it. But you could get it waived, your enrollment deposit. And what it actually does is just pushes your deposit back, and then it comes out of your financial aid at a later time. Usually happens if you receive a 0 EFC and you're receiving full financial aid. They can pretty much put it on hold, and then you would pay it differently. But you would have to pay your enrollment deposit to get your financial aid award, yes.
And then Rudy has a question about the Cal Grant. They don't see a Cal Grant on their award summary. Do they have to wait longer?
For the current school year or for incoming?
Yes, these are all incoming for fall 2021.
So if you don't see your Cal Grant on your award, I would recommend visiting the Cal Grant website, which is the Web Grants for Students website, or yes, Web Grants for Students website. Once you create an account on there, it'll let you know if you're receiving the Cal Grant. I actually recommend everyone to go on the website and do it, just because it'll give you like a solid answer saying, yes, you're receiving Cal Grant A or B, and that it's going to the right school, and it'll tell you the amount. Initially, when you get your award, it does not show up on there because we have to manually go through and double check them. But as long as you have your account and you see that you're receiving it and it's coming to Cal State San Bernardino, then you don't have anything to worry about. You just have to allow us time to apply it.
Awesome. And around that same question, I'll ask this last one and then I'll let you continue.
Okay.
If I'm a transfer student, does my application for financial aid also transfer with me?
It does not do it automatically. You will have to log into your FAFSA account and make sure that you add Cal State San Bernardino as a university that can receive your financial aid. And our school code for that is 001142. So you will log into your FAFSA account and make sure that you add Cal State San Bernardino to your account. Basically allows them to release your information to us.
Awesome. And then there's a bunch of other questions, but we'll keep track of them.
Okay. All righty. So back to the loans, there are two types of loans that are offered. One is the subsidized loan. This loan it's the loan that everyone wants first, and it's actually the one that we give you first. This loan doesn't accumulate interest while you're in school. So as long as you're enrolled in at least half-time status, what you borrow is what you pay. So if you borrow $4,000, you're gonna give back $4,000. And then once you are out of school for 6 months, or if you drop below half-time status, then you'll have to start paying that loan back. And the interest will start occurring on there. The second one is the unsubsidized loan. This loan starts accumulating interest right away. So as soon as you receive it, you'll start getting the interest charged on there. It is 4.3%, and the subsidized one is 2.75%. So they're not super high rates. I think they're doable. But when you're in a crunch and you need extra money, I would definitely recommend taking out your subsidized loan or unsubsidized loan through school, as opposed to a private loan, because those interest rates can get a little higher. And so the types of aid that's offered in your whole financial aid package, believe it or not, one of them is the Federal Work Study Program. This one is a on-campus job. So you would find a job that you can do on campus. The benefits are that you get to work flexible hours. You can earn anywhere from $12 to $17 an hour. And we only allow you to work up to 20 hours a week. I actually did federal work study when I was in college, and I did it in the financial aid office. And when I graduated, they're like, hey, do you want a job? I'm like, oh, yeah. And ever since then, I kind of just been in the field. Secondly, we have the grants. Everybody loves grants because grants are free money. You don't have to pay them back. The grants consist of the Federal Pell Grant, the SCOG grant, the Cal Grant, and the EOP Grant. All of these are free money that are given to you by the state or the federal government, and you do not have to pay them back. The last bit of aid that's offered are the loans, and those are the ones that we kind of just went over. You do have to pay this back And I mentioned the subsidized loan, the unsubsidized, and then the California Dream Loan. Those all are paid back when you either graduate or if you stop attending, and there's a 6-month grace period. So this, I feel like this slide is really important because when you are receiving financial aid and getting your classes, it can be a little overwhelming, like, oh my God, do I have enough to cover? Is this right? So this screen is helpful because when you go onto your customer accounts page, you get to see your total that you owe, which is the first blue arrow, that says $62. And then your anticipated aid, that's the aid that you are waiting to receive. That's what financial aid has cleared you for. So let's say your total was $50 and your anticipated aid was $100. You could look and say, oh, I have enough to cover. I'm actually getting $50 back, so I'm fine. And vice versa, if your your total was $100 and your aid was only $50, then you'll know, eesh, I'm short a couple dollars. I need to see if I want to take out my loan, or do I want to contact student financials and see if I can set up a payment plan for my remaining amount. This screen is just helpful because sometimes you don't want to call and wait on hold for a long time. You can go on your customer accounts and see your total and then the anticipated aid. And this is our financial aid timeline. So October through March 2nd, which that period has just passed for the 21-22 aid year, but that's when students are to complete their FAFSA to meet the priority deadline. Can you turn it in after March 2nd? Yes, you can. But the bad part about that is that there are some grants like the Cal Grant, sometimes the State University Grant, they have a strict cutoff. So if it's not turned in by March 2nd, you might not be able to receive them and you might just be stuck with the loans. So it is beneficial to make sure you meet that March 2nd deadline. February through March, that's when we start, and that's the period we're in now. Lucky me, I have so many documents. That's the period we're in now. That's when we start sending out emails and adding items to your to-do list saying, hey, we've got your FAFSA, but I need this, this, and this from you. That's the period we're in now. And then March through April, that's when we'll start awarding students. So we've collected the information that we needed. Now you'll start seeing your financial aid award on your student portal. Then May through June is when students are going to, students who applied for scholarships will start being notified that they've received the scholarship, and they explain the award amount and all sorts of things of that nature. That happens May through June. And last, the most exciting day, our exciting month is August. That's when disbursement begins. So this always happens 10 days before the start of the semester. That's when we start dispersing the financial aid. It does not mean that everyone will get their financial aid on that 10th day. That means that's when we start. So assuming that your documents are turned in, your awards are already showing on your account, at that 10-day mark, we'll start releasing the financial aid. And that sums up my information. Wanted to give you guys our office hours. We're open 8 to 5, not on campus. We're all virtually right now. We are located at University Hall, room 150, and we do have a Dropbox outside of the office. If you guys have to turn any documents in, you can turn them in there. Also, our phone number and email are there, and we try to respond back within, I try to do within 2 days, but sometimes it can be a little longer. And so yeah, that sums it up, and I am now open for more questions.
All righty, so I know we probably have a lot of questions, and we're going to try to get to most of them this evening. So know that we still have about 30 minutes for y'all. So please keep asking your questions.
Oops, sorry.
Feel free to also raise your hand if you want to just ask a question out loud. But we'll get started with some of the questions that I have here. There's a question, I know there's a way to appeal, challenge, or update the FAFSA if the income listed prior year of 2019 drastically does not match the most recent year in 2020. This process should be done with the college one is attending in the award year. How do we start that process, or can we only do that after classes begin?
So that is a good question. There are a lot of cases right now with COVID where people have lost their jobs and things have changed. So we do have a form on our website, and it is called the Special Circumstance Form. This form will allow you to update your current information, and we will be able to go through, take a look at it, and adjust your aid as necessary. Can you start it sooner? Yes, but I wouldn't advise you to start it sooner because you don't know what you're receiving yet. So if you're already receiving the maximum amount of financial aid, then you wouldn't really want to turn the form in because it's not going to change anymore. So I would wait till you get your award letter and then turn it in.
Awesome. And I have one. How do they apply for scholarships?
So to apply for scholarships, this is also listed on our website. We have a scholarships portal where you will go in and you'll type your information to create an account, and then you'll apply individually to the scholarships that you see fit.
Awesome. Gabriela, do you want to go ahead and unmute and ask your question?
Hi there. It's Gabrielle and her mom because we are just struggling with this big time.
I understand.
Okay, so she's applied to 2 schools, this and Laverne. So do we have to pay that enrollment confirmation deposit in order to see her award letter?
So typically when you pay your enrollment deposit letter, that lets us know that you are attending. And so we will award you at that time. Not directly at that time, but then we'll award you. I have to, you know what, if you don't mind maybe leaving me your contact information, because I have to double check. And now that I'm thinking about it, I do think that we were trying to get the awards out before, so that way students can see what they're receiving here as opposed to what they're receiving elsewhere to help them determine where they're attending. So I do, now that you asked the question, or it's been asked again, I am thinking there was talk about it, and I will want to give you a solid answer. So if you could, I can put my information in the chat if you want to email me. Would that work?
I'm going to call you and talk with you on the phone, okay?
Okay, okay.
That's always better. Thank you, Gabriela and her mom.
Thank you.
All righty. I have a question about work study, Hanaya. Is everybody eligible for the work study program?
So everyone, unfortunately, is not eligible for the work study program. You do have to complete a FAFSA in order to receive work study. If you completed the Dream Act application, unfortunately, because it is federal aid, students are not able to apply for federal work study.
And there was a mention about a Cal Grant website. Everyone's asking what that website is.
Yes, it was web grants for students, but let me see. I'm going to give you the correct. So it is my grant info at CSAC. Let me type it too, at csac.ca.gov. It was so short before. It was web grants for students. It's so simple. But they changed it. But if you type it, it still takes you there. So my grant info. Okay, and then I can take the next one as I'm typing.
Yes, we have a question about an EOP grant. So they have applied and been accepted to EOP. So they're wondering, when will the EOP grant be awarded in their award?
So if you have already received notification about your EOP grant, once we start to award you for the next year, it usually, so EOP sends us a list a little after we have already awarded you. So it might not initially be on your first award, but it will get applied on thereafter, because sometimes those are case-by-case situations and we do have to add them manually as well. But the biggest thing is just to make sure that you are receiving it within the EOP office, and they will send your information over to us and we will for sure add it there.
Awesome. So another question from Rudy. They asked about the Cal Grant and how long they had to wait. He said they checked their account and it says to check back in July. Is it too late to be included in the fall 2021 financial aid package?
Fall 2021. If they completed their FAFSA by March 2nd of last year, then they were eligible for Cal Grant, then they could have received it. If it's not showing up on CSAC and you did not complete your application before March 2nd, then you unfortunately will not be able to, because they have pretty strict guidelines. Did that answer the did I answer the question? I kind of was thinking a lot, so I hope I did.
I hope so. We'll take a live question here. Bashir, do you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question?
Thank you. I was wondering about EOP. I applied and I didn't know how to check to see if I got accepted or not.
Okay, so for that, so the EOP grants are not given out in the financial aid office. They are given out, I'm sorry, but they are not assigned to you in the financial aid office. You would have to actually contact the EOP office. So once you get in touch with the EOP office, just to get your verification, like, oh, I did receive it, then they'll send your information over to us.
And that goes the same for any admission to the EOP program. You have to contact them. I've added that in the chat, their website. Okay, a lot of questions here. So how many credits do I have to be enrolled to be considered a full-time student and can qualify to pay to start paying later?
So you have to be, a full-time is 12 units currently, since we're in the semester. And you said to qualify to pay later on the loans, I'm assuming. You just have to be in at least 4 units. I'm sorry, 6 units. You have to be in at least 6 units in order to receive the loan.
Okay, so I have a question about residency. If my parent moves out of California after I start college here, well, next year, will I be considered out of state based off of my parents' address?
No, you will not. You'll still be considered an in-state resident.
So, a question from Christopher: do we get an award letter in the physical mail?
No, unfortunately, you don't get a financial aid letter in the mail. It's all digital. So that's why it is important to start checking your university email. What I had to do, because I had a very hard time when I was in school, I actually just downloaded the Outlook app, and then I made that my university email. So I made sure to check it periodically. Maybe you can try that to help, because it is a new process you got to get the hang of, but it's going to be sent to email first, and then you'll be able to view it on your account.
Awesome. And then we have a question about disbursement. The grants that we get pay the tuition fees and then other miscellaneous fees that we might need to pay. Is the difference then dispersed directly to the student?
Good question. Yes. So if you receive more financial aid than your fees, after everything, all the finances are sent to student financials and your account balance says 0, you will be refunded any other leftover money. So, and that even goes for your loans. So if your grants were only enough to cover your tuition and fees, and then you're like, you know what, I'm going to take out my loan too, we will disperse your loan to you. And if you enroll in direct deposit, then that'll go to your account, or the check will be mailed to you.
Awesome, thank you. And there's a question about how to navigate to see the award summary. So once they click on their financials through their My Coyote portal, where do they go to review the actual award summary?
After you click on, it should say your student center. And after you are in your student center, there should be a tab that says View My Financial Aid. I can't pull it up because I have the the PowerPoint up. But it's under View My Financial Aid, and you'll be able to click the year, the 21-22 aid year, and it'll show there.
Okay. Another question about disbursement, and this might be a good clarifying. Is the amount fully dispersed, or is it separated between semesters or quarters like at the community college?
Good question. So the financial aid award shows you the amount for the whole year, but you are dispersed semesterly. So you'll get your fall disbursement and then you'll get your spring disbursement 10 days before the start of each semester. Good question.
So, Juliana asked this next question. So to get my Cal Grant, do I need to submit my official transcript? I believe mine says till my high school is over, or is there a deadline for the Cal Grant?
Do you have to, so if you are a first-time recipient of Cal Grant, they will send out it says a high school GPA verification form. If you have completed 24 units at CSUSB, we automatically send your GPA verification in. If you are a new student, then your high school is supposed to send the GPA verification to CSAC, and CSAC is California Student Aid of Commissions, aka Cal Grant.
Awesome. I'm still waiting to receive a document, and the due date is coming up. So if I don't get it on time, would I still be able to fax it, or a little bit after the date listed on the to-do list?
Yes, so you can turn your documents in throughout the whole year, the whole school year, but it's good to try to get it in by your due date just so we can process it sooner. Because the longer you wait, the more documents we receive, and it might take a little longer to process. But as I mentioned before, you can turn it in after the deadline. It's okay. As long as your FAFSA is turned in. That's the most important thing, is to get that turned in by March 2nd.
So another thing about processing, this student turned in their document and verified that the office received it, but it's still on their to-do list. So they're still getting confused, or is it still supposed to be there, or will it be taken out once it's processed?
So when you turn the document in, it depends on how you turn it in, first of all. So if it comes in the mail, it might take a little longer for us to receive it. And then once we receive it, we will change something in your to-do list to either received or completed. So that's what it'll show on your to-do list. If those are not showing up, there is a small possibility that we have not received it. But before we jump to not receiving it, I would give us about a week or two to clear it from your to-do list item.
Awesome. When we register for classes, will the financial aid award automatically pay the registration fees?
When you register for your classes, upon disbursement, so when it hits your disbursement date, financial aid automatically goes to your account and covers your balance. And then after your balance is paid, then you'll receive a refund after that. But yes, assuming you have financial aid awarded on your account, it will go out and pay it directly. You don't have to go in and click pay or submit. We send it through automatically.
And when should they start receiving news from CSUSB about how much they will be awarded?
That is going to start coming. That was in our time. I think was it in the timeline? I think I think it was in our little timeline, but it should start coming around, say around June, May, June.
Yes.
Let me keep this up just so we can keep it. There we go.
There you go. In my to-do list, there's no new information, but the list says initiated under the status. So does that mean I don't have to do anything new to my financial aid to-do list?
So there's nothing showing on your to-do list, or there's something in it that says initiated?
The list says initiated under the status.
Okay. If I'm not sure what the list means. I'm sorry, it's a little hard to. So I'll just say this: if there's an item on your to-do list, if it says standard verification, or if it says tax transcripts or 1040s, and it says initiated next to that, that means that you will need to turn something in. And if you click it, typically explains what it is that you have to turn in. There should be nothing there if you don't have anything to turn in. But if there is something, 9 times out of 10, there is something that we are requesting from you.
Awesome. And if we didn't answer that question to the best, you might want to consider raising your hand and just asking it aloud. It'll make it easier. But I'll continue going. If I'm half time at 6 units, does that mean I get half of my financial aid award?
That's a good question. And so if you are at 6 units, you will receive an adjusted amount of financial aid, yes. So it's not going to mean that it's necessarily half time, but it is going to be a portion of it, yes.
Awesome. And is the award letter the same as the financial aid package?
Yes, yes, that is the same thing.
There's a lot of acronyms in higher education. I know we use a lot of terms.
Yes, yes.
At the same time. Oh, we have another raised hand. Do you want to just go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hi, I was wondering, so I was at RCC and I took 4 years, but for 2 of the years, I was just a part-time student. So I was wondering, does the 6-year rule apply? Would it apply to me or would it not apply to me and my financial aid would still go through? Would I still be able to get financial aid for the next 2 years at San Bernardino?
I'm sorry, you cut out a little bit. Will what apply?
Will I still be able to get financial aid even though that I took about 6 years at RCC, even though like 3 of the years were just like taking just 3 units for like just part-time for about 3 years?
So that's a really good question. When you are at a community college, they will typically give you they can give you some different awards. So you can receive like the BOG waiver, which we don't have here at the university level. We don't offer the BOG waiver. But they also will give you your Cal Grant and Pell Grant if requested or if it's set up that way. So the Cal Grant only allows you to receive aid for 4 years. That's assuming that you've used your full amount the whole time you've been there. And the Pell Grant gives you 600%, which typically adds up to about 6 years. So I would still apply for your financial aid because if you have a little bit of your Cal Grant left or a little bit of your Pell Grant left, we will still award it to you. But if it was used at your community college, then yes, there could be a possibility that you will not receive it at the university.
Thank you. We have a question about loans. How do a student go about declining loans on their financial aid award?
So this is easy because you have to accept them. If you don't want the loans, you just leave them alone. Don't accept them, you can't decline them. After a certain period of time, we'll actually pull the loans back. So if you don't want them, just leave them alone. Don't click accept. If you accidentally accept the loan and you change your mind, like, oh my God, I don't want it after all. On the financial aid website, we actually have a form. It's called a loan adjustment form. And you can decide, you know what, I clicked accept to that loan, but I do not want it. And we can cancel it. Or if you were offered $4,000 and you're like, I only need $1,000 to cover the rest of my fees, you can actually adjust the amount with that form as well. So, and you can do that at any time throughout the school year.
Awesome. And I don't know if you know about the physical Dropbox, but I'm assuming that this is what the student is asking, is they need to turn in some transcripts and they want to go to the Dropbox and check and turn them in. How often is that Dropbox checked? I'm assuming
yes, the one on campus. That Dropbox is checked weekly. So we check it every week and sometimes twice a week, depending on how busy. Like right now, we're checking it 2 or 3 times a week because we're getting a lot of documents. So it is checked often, very often.
Awesome. So I'm just reading through another one about loans. If the loans are in their financial aid package, is there any additional forms that they need to complete or do they just accept them and that's it?
So for the loans, once you accept them, you will be emailed through the Student Loan Center. Sorry, I'm trying to think of all the names. You'll be emailed with information through to complete your loan, entrance counseling, and master promissory note. Those are the only required documents that are needed from you in order to receive the loan. So just to reiterate, you'll log onto your account to accept the loans. Once you accept them, within about 3 to 5 days, you should receive an email saying, hey, we see that you would like to take this loan out. We need you to complete your entrance counseling and your master promissory note. Once you complete those, you're good to go. And you only have to do those once every 10 years.
Awesome. And then another question adjacent to loans. So if they're only offered loans in their financial aid package, can they assume that they did not qualify for any other financial aid?
I want to say yes and no. So typically, yes, that does happen if you only see loans, and if your expected family contribution, which is the EFC, if that's high on your report from the end of your FAFSA, then it would be safe to assume that you will not receive any grants. But there is also a grant called the Middle Class Scholarship, and it's a grant giving out through CSAC, who assigns the Cal Grants, and that's for families with a upper middle, with an upper EFC or higher income range. They offer you a grant that helps pay for tuitions, but that comes at a later time. So initially, if you do not see anything but loans, sometime in September, you could see another grant called the Middle Class Scholarship, but you would also be notified on the CSAC website as well if you are receiving that.
Awesome. And then we had a question about the FAFSA. If they filled out the FAFSA without adding our campus, is it too late to make a change?
Not at all. You can go in and it's a super simple fix. You just go in and add the school code. And then it usually takes us about a week to receive it. And then we will go from there. So you can still add us on it.
Awesome. And then I have a question for that I'll answer. So there's some that might have come in late to this session. So we are going to be offering a second session. It's going to be on April 6th from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. So that's a little earlier in the afternoon. But there will be a second one. The recording for this one will also be on our website. So you can find the recording to both on our website, and I'll add the website to it. But the one that's happening on April 6th will be the exact same one as this one. So just note that. And Cassandra, do you want to unmute and go ahead and ask your question?
Okay. Basically, this is my first time logging in to the California State University website.
Mhm.
And so when it comes to getting over to where I can see the financial aid information, is it just through, you click on My Coyote, and is it the My Financials? Or where do I go exactly?
I don't want to close out the, it should say your student center. That's what you're looking for. I don't know the tile's direct name. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I'll type it in the search bar.
Okay, so it's in your student center, and then you'll be able to view your aid there.
Okay.
Yeah, but I can't open it. I'm so sorry.
Your actual portal, your My Coyote portal, it should have a tab that says View My Financial. In the actual
In one of the little boxes.
yes. Because sometimes they'll have your class schedule, and then they'll also have your financial aid, and that's where you'll see it.
No, the only one that it does have, it just says My Financials, and it says Make a Payment, Financial Activity, One Card Balance, and CSUSB Scholarship Site. You know.
Let's have you stick around a little after the presentation, and we'll try to help.
Okay.
Good idea.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Alrighty, I have another question for Derek. What happens if you're not able to get transcripts that CSUSB asks for? Would it affect enrollment even if we're admitted? Is there anyone we can contact to fix that issue? Naya, I'll jump in for this one. So if you do have to get in official final transcripts in by July 1st. So if you can't get in those final transcripts, it is going to affect your admissions. It could affect your admission, your final admissions, even if you go through orientation and through the whole process. If we see that, or if the Office of Admissions Operations sees that you never turn that in, they can revoke your admission. So if and drop your classes, even if you're in classes. So if you cannot get them, contact the Office of Admissions Operations. They're at more info at CSUSB. I'm typing as I talk. Contact them there and let them know your situation, what's going on, or give them a call. You can also call them at 537-5188. And they'll be able to kind of guide you on what to do and how to request or try to get those transcripts. But it is very important that you get those final transcripts to us. How do you turn in those transcripts? They can be turned in many different ways. So your community college or your high school will have the ability to do that online, but it has to be through their systems. They usually have a different system that they can turn those transcripts in. You can get a physical transcript. Don't open the envelope just as they hand it to you in a sealed envelope. You can go and drop it off on campus. We have a drop-off box in front of University Hall. You could do it there, or you can have them mailed to us as well. Again, an official transcript from the direct school, whether that's a community college or high school. And if you're a transfer student, note that we will require transcripts from any college, even if you attended a college 30 years ago, we will need that transcript from 30 years ago from that school. So make sure that you get any and all transcripts turned into the office so that they can make sure that it's in your package. Alrighty, let's go through some of these. Can I still change my Cal Grant to go to CSUSB when I put my Cal Grant to go to a different school in the CSAC?
Yes, you can. You can still go on and make those changes.
Pay for tuition as long as you qualify. I know that RCC is different from CSUSB, but does CSUSB have a similar program to the Promise program where they will pay for tuition as long as you qualify for the program?
So I'm not sure what the Promise program, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that program at RCC, but I'm gonna say no, just because we don't have any programs like that. I mean, the closest thing we have is maybe a grant, which is a state university grant. It does not promise to pay, but it does give you enough aid to cover your tuition. But there's no program through the financial aid office.
And I don't know of another program. We have scholarship programs, but not like that one where we would pay for your tuition. So I'm sorry about that. But that's great that RCC has that for students.
I know, that's pretty cool. There's two hands.
Oh, go ahead, Christina. You can ask a question.
So I heard it's similar to it's called the 2-year program or like the 4-year program at CSUSB. I saw it on your guys' webpage somewhere.
A promise to pay for you to attend the school, or
well, I don't know if it's like the same kind of
Are you referring to our President's Academic Excellence Scholarship?
No, because it's not a scholarship, it's not a grant, but it's like a program where as long as you stay up on your classes and you pass your classes and stuff like that, then they offer to cover your tuition.
So I'm not familiar with that, but if you want to send me an email directly, you can. And I can, we can maybe talk a little bit more about it. Maybe I can look on the website and see what you're talking about. Because I can't say I know all the programs here yet. I remember I started in June, but I'm not familiar with that program at all. And it might be something that an organization might have where they help pay for things. But I will be more than happy to help you look into it if you want to go ahead and send me an email.
Okay.
All righty, and we have a couple hands up. So Ashton, do you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, just to go off of that 2-year thing, I remember my counselor at VVC also set me up with that. It was like a 2-year completion for a bachelor's degree. I don't remember all the details, but I also wanted to like know a little bit more about it because whatever it is, I signed up for it. So she told me, she was like, yes, do it. You really want to do it because it's a good thing. So
Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know what it is. I have to ask.
And it's a financial program. It's not an enrollment or class because I know we have like cross enrollment programs and we have like our associate degrees to transfer. Obviously, that's a promise that we're making that you will transfer and then we will complete you within 2 years once you transfer. So there's like those types of like promise programs, but I don't think I've heard of one that's financial based.
Yeah, that's I just know the 4-year pledge, and that's the pledge just to finish your classes within the 4 years.
then
But
it was it was on the CSU Apply website. I think it's what the California Promise program. I just kind of Googled 2-year promise real quick, and that's what popped up. I think it just says that we'll be given priority registration.
yes, that's okay. So that's the pledge one. That's the graduate pledge, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not that does not pay for you to attend the school. That's something that admissions is doing.
Yeah, and we'll give you priority also as consideration when we're admitting you to the university. You were also given priority upon other transfer students that might not have been in that program. So that's what those programs mean. So thank you, Ashton. Marianne, do you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Yes, good afternoon. I just, can you touch a little bit on that middle income scholarship you were talking about earlier? Because I thought that I applied, I did my FAFSA and the Cal Grant also,
Mm-hmm.
but nothing came up with the middle income scholarship. Is that because it's not going to take place until the fall 2021?
So yes, so CSAC, California Student Aid Commissions, they are a little slow, in my opinion. They send their periodically they send out a roster, and on the roster it has a list of all the students that are eligible for Cal Grant A, Cal Grant B, and for the middle class scholarship. They are not early. They do not send them out before. It's typically something we have to add after. That's why I highly recommend getting familiar with that website to see when you are awarded or what you're eligible for, so you know ahead of time. Because if you wait on us, it is going to take a little while to see, oh, well, finally I'm getting this grant. So I would look on the CSAC website. Also, their customer service line is actually pretty great. They do answer the phone and they do help. If you want to be like super proactive and find out before, I would maybe recommend giving them a call. But like I mentioned, they're a little slower with processing those things. So you might not see it on there yet. But I will tell you this, if you see Cal Grant A or B on your account, then you're not going to see middle class scholarship because you will not receive both.
Oh, no, I don't. Yeah, I don't have either A or B.
Either. Oh,
yeah. Okay. So what you recommend, so then basically that probably happens after payment for the college has to be due then, possibly.
Yes, unless it shows up on your account there. Unless you see it on your account before and you know you're receiving it, middle class scholarship does not typically get added before.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And I'll ask 2 last questions before we we gotta get off of here, and then we'll try to answer as many questions. I'll send these over to Veronica in our Office of Financial Aid to try to get y'all these questions answered. But I had a question about someone who turned in transcripts by February 15th, and it's still on their to-do list. Are they still putting them in the system? So that could be two things. We might still be putting it in the system. I hope that by this point, no, we are not, that they're already processed and in the system. But what that means is that we were probably asking for those first initial transcripts. But you still, if you are still working on classes and if you still have classes this spring, we're waiting for you to complete those classes. And we're going to be asking you for those final official transcripts. After you finish class, you get a grade, then you'll ask the registrar to send those official transcripts over. So that goes for any first year student that's coming in. After you finish your last classes in high school, you'll want to ask to send those transcripts over. And for any community college student that's still working on classes, also make sure you get those transcripts turned in afterwards. And then last question to you, Hanaya, if you were awarded a Pell Grant at a community college and have not used it, does it transfer to Cal State San Bernardino?
Yes. So your Pell Grant and your Cal Grant are like your personal savings accounts for school, okay? So you get one piggy bank and it moves around to whatever school you attend. So if you use a little bit of your Pell Grant at your community college and then you came here and you're still eligible for it, then we will still award it to you. So it doesn't stay at that school, it moves over with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Hanaya, for joining us today and for giving us this presentation and bearing with us and answering all of our questions. We'll have much more. Again, we have another one on April 6th from 3 to 4. Please join us for that one if you came in late or just want to join another one. And as soon as we can, we'll also make the recording for this one available online. But thank you all for joining us today. That concludes the program for today. Have a good evening.
Thank you, everyone.